Guys, welcome to Real Classic Film Reviews Greatest Movies of the Year, 1979. Now, 1979 was the year that Philips publicly demonstrated a prototype of an optical digital audio disc at a press conference in the Netherlands, and also the year that McDonald's introduced the Happy Meal. So America's most serious nuclear power plant accident occurred this year at 3 Mile Island in Pennsylvania. And here in the United Kingdom, the 1979 general election gave the Conservatives a majority and designated Margaret Thatcher as the nation's first female Prime Minister. On the small screen, the first episode of John le Carré's Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy aired on BBC Two, with Alec Guinness as George Smiley, and David Attenborough's groundbreaking nature documentary Life on Earth debuted on BBC Two also. Now, over the pond, a channel called Nickelodeon debuts on cable TV, playing children's television shows 24 hours a day, and a little movie named Jaws is broadcast on television for the first time on ABC. But of course, over on the big screen, we got great movies such as Moonraker, Rocky II, Escape from Alcatraz, and Star Trek the Motion Picture, and of course, these next 10 movies, which are the Real Classic Film Reviews choices for the 10 greatest movies of 1979. So going back and watching 1979's Mad Max now, it's amazing how much of a low budget affair it is, but also seeing everything that's come since, it's more amazing at how innovative and trailblazing George Miller's gritty Australian action film really was. Now, it not only launched a franchise, but it redefined the whole post-apocalyptic genre. So Mad Max is set in a near-future society that's teetering on the edge of collapse, and the film follows Max Rokostansky, played by Mel Gibson, in a career-launching role as a highway patrol officer who becomes a reluctant hero in a lawless world when a brutal biker gang murders his wife and child. Now, Max transforms as the world around him also breaks down, and the film was a major international success despite being shot on a low budget, and helped establish Australian cinema on the world stage. It's got a gritty aesthetic, high-octane action, and bleaker than bleak worldview, and it laid the foundation for a legendary franchise that's still going 4.5 decades later. Landmark stuff. So Quadrophenia, released in 1979, but based on The Who's 1973 rock opera, but set in 1960s London and Brighton, follows Jimmy Cooper, played by an iconic Phil Daniels, a working class youth caught in a clash between the mods and the rockers. Now, our protagonist is a scooter riding mod who struggles with family, work, relationships, and a sense of belonging. He has a personal obsession with the mod lifestyle and an idolisation of Ace Face, played by Sting, who's a charismatic dude who represents the image that Jimmy aspires to. However, as reality gradually sets in, many of his illusions are shattered, ultimately leading to a breakdown of sorts, an illustration of the late 60s collapse of youthful ideals. Now, Quadrophenia is notable for its raw portrayal of 60s youth culture, and so we get the music, the fashion, and the social unrest. It's got an outstanding soundtrack, primarily by The Who, and it remains one of the best representations of British youth identity, rebellion, and disillusionment, capturing the chaotic energy of a generation searching for meaning in a rapidly changing world. So Monty Python's Life of Brian, directed by Terry Jones, is a sharp satire of religion, political extremism, and blind conformity, to be honest. The film follows Brian Cohen, played by Graham Chapman. He's just an ordinary guy born on the same day and in the house next door to Jesus. And through a series of misunderstandings, Brian is mistaken for the Messiah and unwillingly becomes the focus of a religious movement. Now, The Life of Brian is known for its bold humour and biting social commentary, getting it into much trouble at the time of release. Now, Life of Brian uses the trademark absurdity of the Monty Python comedy gang. Like I mentioned, despite or because of its satirical edge, the film sparked widespread controversy upon release, facing bans and protests in several countries. However, it was also critically acclaimed for its intelligence, wit, and quite fearless approach to taboo subjects, featuring classic scenes like "What have the Romans ever done for us?" and the ironic sing-along "Always look on the bright side of life." Life of Brian remains one of the most influential comedy films ever made. The Warriors, directed by Walter Hill, is possibly the dictionary definition of a cult classic action thriller, one that explores urban survival and gang culture in a stylised, almost near-futuristic New York City. The film follows the titular gang, the Warriors, as they attempt to make their way back to their home turf of Coney Island after being falsely accused of murdering Cyrus, a charismatic leader who had called for a citywide gang truce. Now, the Warriors is presented as a night-long odyssey as the Warriors face threats from rival gangs and the city's police force, thugs as they have to navigate a surreal, almost comic book version of NYC. Now, in an almost WWF wrestling style, each gang has a cool, distinct identity and costume, from baseball-themed brutes to roller skating thugs. The story's simple but still quite gripping and entertaining, with plenty of brutal action. Despite initial controversy over its depiction of gang violence, it's become iconic and has an excellent synth-heavy score and gritty aesthetic. Cult classics don't come much better. Now, about as far removed from the Warriors as you can get is Andrei Tarkovsky's Stalker, a deeply philosophical science fiction film loosely adapted from the novel Roadside Picnic. The film follows three characters, the writer, the professor and their guide, the Stalker, on a journey through the mysterious and forbidden zone, a desolate area said to contain a room that grants a person's deepest wish. Now, as the trio venture deeper into the zone, the film becomes less about action and more about introspection. The zone itself acts as a shifting, enigmatic landscape, reflecting each character's inner fears and uncertainties. Heavy stuff for sure, and the subject of many an essay attempting to study, interpret and understand its themes and meanings. A 2-hour 40-minute Soviet meditation on the nature of human desire may not seem like everyone's cup of tea, especially considering Tarkovsky's long takes, minimal dialogue and haunting imagery, but Stalker is widely regarded as a masterpiece of world cinema, praised for its depth, ambiguity and poetic visuals. It's challenging, no doubt, but offers a unique cinematic experience that will either reward your patience or drive you nuts. All That Jazz is a bold, semi-autobiographical musical drama directed by Bob Fosse that blurs the lines between performance and reality. Now, the film follows Joe Gideon, played by a never better Roy Scheider, a driven and self-destructive choreographer and director who juggles editing a film, staging a Broadway musical, and managing his chaotic personal life. Now, as his workaholic lifestyle takes a toll on his health, Gideon begins to hallucinate, leading to surreal musical visions of his mortality. Sounds a bit nuts, and it is sometimes, but it works so well. Fosse, drawing heavily from his own life, uses All That Jazz to explore the cost of perfectionism, fame and obsession. It's to his credit that the film manages to be both a dazzling celebration of showbiz and a haunting meditation and warning on burnout and death. Much like the classic musicals, there's some dynamic editing, innovative dance sequences, all topped off with quite a raw central performance by Scheider. Now, All That Jazz pushes the boundaries of the musical genre to the brink, helping it win the Palme d'Or and multiple Academy Awards, and it remains a landmark in American cinema for its stylishly daring, emotionally honest and uncompromising depiction of a man consumed by his art. So, Kramer vs. Kramer, directed by Robert Benton, is one of the great dramas of the 1970s, a film that explores the emotional and legal complexities of divorce and parenthood. The film stars Dustin Hoffman as Ted Kramer, a work-focused advertising executive whose life is tipped upside down when his wife Joanna, an awesome as usual Meryl Streep, suddenly leaves him and their young son. Forced to become a full-time single parent, Ted undergoes a quite profound personal transformation as he learns to care for his son and reevaluate his own priorities. So far, so heart-wrenching, but the story takes a turn further when Joanna returns seeking custody of their son, leading to an emotional court battle. Unlike many a custody movie, this film portrays the dynamics of fatherhood, gender roles, and the emotional cost on the parents during separation. Now, Hoffman and Streep, of course, deliver the goods here, both winning Academy Awards for their roles, with the film also earning Best Picture, which I don't quite agree with. The true Best Picture winner appears further up this list as far as I'm concerned, but still, Kramer vs. Kramer is an honest, intimate portrayal of personal growth and parental love, and remains both powerful and relevant. So, Being There was directed by Hal Ashby and is the satirical comedy drama that explores themes of media influence, political power, and stars the amazing Peter Sellers as Chance, a simple-minded, sheltered gardener. He's a guy who spent his entire life in a wealthy man's townhouse, learning about the world solely through television. And when his benefactor dies, Chance is thrust into society where his childlike innocence and vague statements about gardening are hilariously mistaken for profound political insight. Now, as Chance drifts through Washington DC's high society, he unintentionally becomes a media sensation and is even considered as a potential presidential advisor. Now, Being There cleverly critiques how image, not substance, can shape public perception. And now, even for Sellers, this is masterful, understated performance and one that earned him widespread acclaim. Being There has a calm pacing, subtle humour and a famous and brilliantly ambiguous ending, and is possibly more relevant today with its critique on authenticity and how superficial modern culture is. It remains a quietly powerful and thought-provoking film. 1979 is another tough year where the number 1 spot is so close, but ultimately the number 2 spot here is taken by Alien, Ridley Scott's groundbreaking science fiction horror film that redefined both genres with its atmospheric tension, stunning design, and strong female lead. Now set in deep space, that place where no one can hear you scream, aboard the commercial spaceship Nostromo, the story follows a crew that responds to a mysterious distress signal on a remote planet. There they unknowingly bring back a deadly alien organism that begins to stalk and kill them one by one. Now the film's central character, Ellen Ripley, played by the great Sigourney Weaver, emerged as a cultural icon and one of the first prominent female action heroes in modern cinema. And the alien creature itself, now one of the most famous in film history, designed by Swiss artist H.R. Geiger, introduced a terrifying biomechanical aesthetic that contributed significantly to the film's eerie and claustrophobic tone. Now, Alien features a slow-building suspense, minimalistic dialogue, and the way it blends science fiction with body horror influenced an entire genre. Springing from B-movie roots, Alien is now widely considered a classic, one that spawned a long-running franchise and influenced countless filmmakers. It's a masterclass in atmospheric storytelling and genre fusion. So we jump from deep space horror to the horror of senseless warfare with Francis Ford Coppola's Apocalypse Now, a seminal war film that reimagines Joseph Conrad's novella Heart of Darkness within the context of the Vietnam War. And the film follows Captain Benjamin Willard, played by a young Martin Sheen, who is tasked with a covert mission to assassinate Colonel Walter Kurtz, played by Marlon Brando, a decorated officer who has gone rogue deep in the Cambodian jungle. Now, as Willard journeys upriver to confront Kurtz, he encounters surreal and disturbing scenes that blur the line between war and madness, which in turn sees him begin to understand the unsound methods of his target. So Apocalypse Now is renowned for its hallucinatory visuals, haunting score, and mind-boggling practical action set pieces. It critiques the dehumanising effects of war and the fragile nature of morality under extreme conditions. Coppola's chaotic production only added to the film's mythos. Brando's enigmatic performance, shrouded in darkness and spouting cod philosophy, could have been disastrous. Instead, it makes perfect sense in a movie that's since been hailed as a cinematic masterpiece. Its influence spans generations. It's the greatest movie yet made on the Vietnam experience, as harrowing as it is funny, as action-packed as it is introspective. Its sensitive subject matter allowed Kramer vs. Kramer to steal its Oscar, but history has secured its legacy. Now, a few versions exist of this movie, but in my humble opinion, there really is no need to redux. Coppola got it right the first time.